All right, ETM Hotep. Like to welcome everyone to Divine Words Wednesdays with the Seshu Ma'ani Medu Necher. And for tonight, we're just going to basically continue our conversation and discussion about building good character or good character in general, and how it relates to the maxims of Ptah Hotep and also the other wisdom texts. You know, last week we went over, I think, one or two of the maxims, and this week we'll just discuss a few more and share some of the glyphs of the transcriptions of the maxim of Ptah Hotep. It was originally written in hieratic, but as some may know, that the hieratic is transcribed into the formal Sesh Medu Neter, and then transliterated and then translated. All right. So basically, we're just going to continue our conversation, but we have some of the members of the Seshu Mani Medu Neter on the panel, and maybe you all can go down the line and just let everyone know who's in the building and who's going to be part of the discussion.
ETM Hotep, Dua Duau, Hekanuin, Amin Ra, Ptah, Kwai Second. I go by the name of Kofi Paisa. Welcome, welcome, and welcome.
ETM Hotep, this is Damian Everly. I want to welcome you to tonight's continuation show. Welcome.
ETM Hotep, this is Atiba Sekou. You're welcome in satisfaction. I can be found on Facebook with the same name. Thank you.
ETM Hotep, welcome in peace. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Hotep.
Hotep, Hotep, you wanna go?
Yeah, Hotep, it's your brother Hotep and Ram Mariam. Hope y'all enjoy the show. Pass it over to the Senate.
Dua Hotep. This is Tonika, and yeah, enjoy the show.
All right, I think that's. Oh, we're missing one person. Can't miss out.
What are we missing?
I think we got everyone.
Mr. Brother June, Robert.
Oh, now you're ready
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah. So this week, basically, on our Divine Words Wednesdays, what we like to emphasize is method. You know, that's what we've been doing. We've been doing it for the past several weeks, and you could check out the archives and watch us detail the method of transliterating and translating ancient Kemet or Kemetic texts. All right, so basically the gist of that method is a four-step process. Step one is to identify the direction in which the signs are to be read. All right, and that step is pretty straightforward, and we've shown that several times. Step two is to identify every single glyph or every single sign. All right, and that step becomes faster and faster as you memorize more and more signs. Step three is to take those signs and group them together into the words that they form, and then take those words and look it up in dictionaries or vocabulary lists to look up the definitions. And then step four, you take those definitions that you have, and then you come up with a sensible translation, applying the appropriate grammar, etc. Because you're coming from Rani Kemet as the source language into the target language of English in our case. So the grammar does not match one for one. So sometimes you have to switch things around to make it make sense and be grammatically correct in English. So that's the rundown of the four steps. And like I said, the previous several weeks, we've been going through that process in detail. So this is kind of a little bit of a change of gears for this week and last week to discuss the maxims of Ptah Hotep in relations to good character. All right, because I think that we don't talk about it enough in the social community or in our communities in general. But because a lot of things that we do are on social media now, in the social community, it's not talked about very much. We see a lot of information being shared, but it's a lot of raw data and raw information being shared, and it could be very informative. We see stuff about the latest scientific inventions, developments, something in current events in the news and things like that. And then, so we see that. We also see some arguments, debating, going back and forth, and debate. Proper debate can be very, very beneficial because it tightens up information. It basically allows you to falsify things. People that are making claims will have to support those claims, and if they're successful at that, then it adds to the body of knowledge that we know. So debating and arguing can definitely be beneficial to us, and it can also be problematic when people don't know how to debate properly or fail to support claims, and then those claims that are failed, that are not demonstrated to be accurate, when those claims are still accepted and believed, and then we run into a few problems, a few snags. So we have that going on. Then we have different uh, things being shared, arguments that are not really debates, but they're arguments such as what civilization came first, who started writing, who had the first writing system, uh, you know, who started farming first, or things like that, which may be interesting, but a lot of times those things are taken out of context, and it's kind of argued in the wrong way. It becomes more of just a back and forth, keeping busy type of thing instead of trying to work towards a solution or resolution of any kind of conflict and claims and things like that. So those are kind of things that we see the majority of um, on social media, but we don't see a lot of discussions or systematic discussions about building good character. And it may be because character in and of itself is not something, I think we take it for granted. But when we sit back and watch and look at a lot of the problems that we're seeing or having, it stands on the core of a person's character, whether it's an individual or whether it's a group of individuals or even an entire community or even an organization, a large organization. It's at its core, it stems from a person's character, and character is shaped and molded by one's culture. You know, a culture that's uh, practiced, or that you actually live in, and you live a particular culture. All right, so I don't think it's talked about a lot, and we see a lot of different things where people are displaying bad character. All right, and it's a result. And character is not something, whether it's good or bad, it's not something that happens overnight. So a person that displays bad character, it's not the fact that they just woke up and just have bad character, and vice versa with good characters. Nobody wakes up and then just has good character. Character is something that is cultivated over time and over years, uh, basically. So it's something that, so if we're seeing bad character being displayed, it's something that has built up and has been cultivated over a long period of time. So with that being said, there's also no quick fixes to bad character, as well. So this is why in a lot of indigenous cultures, one of the core uh, components of culture is to actually build up people having good character. So a lot of times, especially in African cultures, you'll have rites of passages, initiatory environments where boys and girls will enter into these passages or initiation systems, and a major part of it would be to build character, and it's like interwoven into other things that are being taught and lessons that are learned, all the way from childhood, and we have that in under the Western um, cultures as well, but we take it for granted and we don't see it that way. Like educational system, we send our children to school for about 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. If you're a parent that sends your child to public school, so your child is being molded and groomed and shaped by the educational system, by that teacher or teachers, by their peers, their friends, through peer pressure, through all these things. So our schooling system, our educational system, can be said to be a behavioral modification system. So if we're seeing a lot of problems in young adults or even adults, then the educational system in respects to character must have failed them. Then obviously, you got the home, parenting, and things like that as well. So all of these things contribute to a person's character. But in traditional African traditions and cultures, you'll see that that's a major factor of how children are raised. From a very very young age into adulthood. That plays a major part in the curriculum of the development of a person is their character. So you have a lot of proverbs, you have a lot of West African proverbs that we may or may not know. And a lot of proverbs that you'll see on the internet, some they'll just say African proverb. You don't know what part of Africa it came from, but a lot of these proverbs are like wisdom, short little wisdom statements that actually deal with a person's character, how they should conduct themselves to their fellow man or woman, how they should conduct themselves in business, how they should conduct themselves from a parent to their child, from a husband to a wife, wife to a husband, all these different proverbs um, that people may be familiar with. But in our instance, and what we talked about last week and get into this week is the wisdom text, or they say the genre of inscriptions in Kemet dealing with wisdom. And the most popular one that people may be familiar with is the Maxims or the precepts of Ptah Hotep. But we have others such as Kagimni, Amenemhet, then you Amenope, and others. Even in a more later period, as the brother June brought up earlier, you have Ankh Shashunk and even some more, where we see these same proverbs, but they're recorded and they're in a form, call them maxims or precepts. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up. If anyone on the panel has any maxims or anything along these lines that stick out that you think is appropriate, you may want to read, and we could discuss what it means and like how it applies. Because these maxims, if we all just simply followed it, you know, I'm telling you, a lot of people will deal with each other in a better way. You know, your character goes a long way. So I'll just open it up for anybody on the panel to um, go ahead. And if you have something to share, let me know, and I'll lock it to your screen. I see, Brother June, you have something on your screen. You want me to?
Yeah,
On the
I
spot?
got one. I was reading this out of the Husia by Karanga, but it can also be found in Litchum's book, The Ancient Egyptian Literature, Volume 3. And I think the papyrus is in the British Museum still, labeled as Instructions of Ankh Shashank. But I just wanted to read, man, it actually has a little story to it. Like let's see, it's a fictional narrative prologue. Basically gives context to the main part of the document. So this is how the story goes. Ankh Shashank is visiting a friend in Memphis called Heresi, who tells him about a plot to kill the king. Ankh Shashank tries unsuccessfully to dissuade his friend from carrying out his plans. Their discussion is overheard and reported to the king, who orders both men to be brought to him and interrogated. Now his friend, what's his name? Harseshi and the other conspirators are burnt to death while Ankh Shashank is cast into prison. On the anniversary of the king's ascension, an amnesty is declared for all except Ankh Shashank. His heart sinks at this, and he writes down pieces of advice for his sons on pot shards. So basically, Ankh Shashank, his advice comprises a series of one-line proverb like Maxims, which Abel was describing earlier. So this says they're self-contained and one does not necessarily relate to the next. So the one I wanted to read is the second paragraph. You can see my screen. And it says, examine every matter that you may understand it. Do not say I am learned, but rather set yourself to become wise. Be gentle and patient, then your character will be beautiful. It is in the development of character that instruction succeeds. Learn the structures and functionings of the sky. Learn the structure and functionings of the earth. So I just like that one. I felt it kind of went in what we've been discussing recently. So I hope everybody likes that. Hotep.
All right, Hotep. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me just read. Say, examine every matter that you may understand it. I mean, you know, a lot of these things we could break down. You could take one maxim and really just have a good conversation about each one, because examine every matter that you understand. That's the same thing that we always encourage people to apply rigor into their studies and research. You know, examine. You know that word examine. And I know in Rani Kemet, or language of Egypt, to examine something is to go deep down into something. That's the phrase, the way it's worded, to actually go down and penetrate something. And we even say it to this very day when we say, like when somebody says something that's impactful to you, you say, oh, that's deep, you know, or like, man, you must have dug deep for that. And so we have this placement terminology where when we examine something, we want to dig into something or go down into something, you know. So, and that's the way it's phrased. That's the way it's worded in ancient Egypt. When you examine something, it's to go down into something. So it's examine every matter that you may understand it. So you have to dig deep in order to gain understanding. And this is something that you know, a lot of people who engage in a lot of debates that I've seen, at least, fail to do. There's people that do it, but then there's a lot of people that fail to do, to actually study something, take time out, you know, because studying takes time. You can't rush. You can't, you know, we call it microwave research or microwave scholarship, when a person just peruses the internet, Yahoo or Google searches, and look for different articles, and then you run to the first article you see, but you really don't read through it and do literature review, compare it to other articles, look at the pros and cons, look at the criticisms that one person may receive over another, and all that stuff takes time. You know, then you have to come to your own understanding and connect the dots as well, because a lot of times people will just parrot something, you know, just repeat something and not really look into it, look in depth, don't know how the conclusions were brought about. They didn't see any claims being demonstrated to them or see a demonstration of those claims, but yet it sounds good, so a lot of people will repeat it. So just that first line right there, if we all just took heed to that. Examine every matter that we may understand it. That's a real simple thing, to be said, and it's so simple that we would take it for granted. It doesn't sound that deep. Somebody's just telling you, examine every matter that you understand it. That sounds simple, like it's almost like duh, but it's neglected. Um, it's definitely neglected. And I guess then it goes on to say, do not say I am learned, but rather set yourself to become wise.
Mm-hmm.
Be gentle and patient. There's the word patient again. Then your character will be beautiful. So patience, we say it today. You'll hear the phrase patience is a virtue. But here you have in this text it says be gentle and be patient, and then your character will be beautiful. So have patience. You can't be hot-headed. You can't be quick to react to different things because everybody's not the same. Everybody, we're all unique in our own ways. We don't react to the same conflicts or problems the same way, and we have to be patient with that, and that could be synonymous with tolerance. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I want to jump in there and stop you on that one real quick when you talk about the patience, because I did see something in the Maxims where he started going into, speaking on hearing and listening. And I saw one when he was talking about speaking, where he was giving advice on speaking. And just like you said, it talked about patience. And what I saw was it said, be patient of heart the moment you speak, so as to say elevated things. In this way, the nobles who hear it will say, how good is what comes from his mouth. And just what you was talking about, it makes, because, a lot of us been in that situation before where they say you act emotional or you snap or you just say something right away instead of being patient of heart the moment you speak. You got, like your parents always tell you, think about what you say before you speak, before you say it. And I just wanted to interject that real quick when I saw that.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent, because that's right on point. It speaks to the same thing. And and even listening to what you just said, all of these things are almost like a duh moment. The duh, like duh. But when we talk about it, we take it for granted. We obviously take it for granted because if we didn't, we would have a lot more people that would display good character, and we just don't see it. See, character is at the core of how you act and behave. You know, every physical action is pretty much preceded by your thoughts, and your thoughts are shaped over time. Especially your reactionary behavior and your reflexes. How you snap or how you just respond to something or any situation. It takes time to change that behavior takes time to change. That's why a lot of people have habits that they may want to break, or good habits that they may want to start doing, and then it takes time to break bad habits. It takes time to gain good habits. you know so it takes time for all this to happen, but at the core of it is it's character. So we take it for granted. you know But these sound so simple. Be gentle and patient. That sounds so simple. It's like, no, you don't have to tell me that, you know. But and we have to start telling ourselves that. I guess that maybe that's the problem. Other people are telling us. And actually, I saw a maxim. I forgot which one it was, and hopefully I'll be able to find it before we finish. But there's a maxim in Ptah Hotep where it actually speaks to that, you know. And I'll hopefully I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, and also I want to say this too, because even when we read this, be gentle and patient, then your character will be beautiful. Now, growing up, like I'm from the DMV. We say DMV for DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, but I'm from DC. And coming from DC, and I know a lot of people from any city, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, whatever, in LA, all the cities that people are mostly familiar with. Uh, they have reputations and things like that. You got, reputations come from the streets or whatever the case is. And I know growing up, and I'm sure it's still true to this very day, that you almost have to walk around with a screw face to fit in with whatever else is going on. I know down here in the South, I know when I was living in DC, we always looked at the South as being very friendly, especially like, North Carolina, South Carolina. Um, I don't know why, but I just grew up thinking that, people that lived in those places were just very friendly. I could just picture in my mind, a person leaving their car door unlocked, leaving their house front door unlocked, sitting on the porch. When you drive by, everybody waves like, "Hey, how you doing?" And that's Southern hospitality. I guess that's where the phrase comes from, Southern hospitality. But you live in the city, you almost have to walk around me mugging everybody, you know, and so I bring that up because when it says be gentle and patient, then your character will be beautiful. I think a lot of us look at having good character almost equating that to being a pushover or being soft. Like, if you display good character, then you must be soft. And confirmation of that is when um, when people have to say in response to that, people have to say, "Don't take my kindness for weakness." That phrase wouldn't exist if we didn't view things that way at times. So you do have that phrase that exists. Don't take my kindness for weakness, or don't take kindness, period, for weakness. And we need to get that back because a person being kind, or like as this text says, being gentle and patient, that doesn't mean that they're weak. That doesn't mean that they can't, in terms of the street lingo, doesn't mean that they can't throw hands up or whatever the case is. It doesn't mean that. But and many times it's being interpreted as that if I'm gentle and if I'm patient, then people are gonna look at me as soft, and I can't be looked at as soft, so I gotta mean mug everybody, so I gotta be combative, I gotta do rah rah rah, and have this verbal combat with everyone, or mean mugging people. You can't even say what's up to somebody. You got to have a screw face, like what's up. So anyway, I don't want to be all on this, and this is only a couple of lines out of what you're sharing, but it just goes to show you that a lot of these maxims, a lot of these wisdom phrases and sentences and things like that, they're very concentrated sets of instruction. You add water and we could stretch it out, just like how we doing right here with just this one. And what's the next line? It says, be gentle. Then it says, it is in the development of character that instruction succeeds. Now I take that sentence to mean that, like, for example, the only way that that you're parenting, like if for any of you all who are watching or be watching this in the archives or on a panel, if you have children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're a parent and you have a child or children, you're going to do your best to, instill some good values into your child, discipline and the whole nine. Now, while your child is around you, it's safe to expect your child is going to act good. They're going to act, in accordance to what you discipline them about. So that's not a good environment to test your parenting because, the saying goes, when the cat's away, the mice play. So it's not until your children actually get around someone else and you're not in their presence can you really test your parenting. So that line right there where it says, it is in the development of character that instruction succeeds. So as parents, we have to develop our children's character, and then we could be confident that when our child or children are around other children and their parents, or at school, or somewhere on a field trip or whatever case is, we can then know that our child is gonna act right and everything. So we have to build up this character, and that's when instruction will succeed. You know, so we have to focus on building our children's character, character. So, and I know everybody has a child can feel exactly what I'm saying, you know, because they even have memes floating around. You know, when you're in the grocery store and your child cut up, and you give your child that look like like just wait till we get home. Or some parents don't even wait till they get home. You know, they'll yoke their child up in a minute. So
Yeah,
yeah,
another thing
nothing.
popped in my head is when you talked about that, it made me think about those hidden cameras, the ones that play the tricks on the child, but they'll have the parents watching, and the parents, but I can't believe, no, my child won't do that, my child won't do that, and then their child will do it, and then they're like really shocked. They're like, I know I taught them better, and then but some children will be like, no, I'm not getting in that car, I'm not doing that. You know, their parents be like, good, you know, they listen to me. But talking about that remind me of those kind of shows that come on TV.
Yeah, that's a good example, and that's it. That's a good example because, and like I said, you can't really test uh you can't test your parenting by you being present around your children. That's unfair. That's an unfair assessment. You know, actually, you'll be delusional if that's what you have to go by. You can only really test your parenting when you're not around. And I say I'm looking at the actual chat, and I see first of all, Hotep to everybody that's you know watching on the chat. But I see Sister Monica made a statement and said, yeah, do the right thing in the absence of orders. Exactly. You know, that's when you test things out. And this doesn't just go for children. This goes for whatever. You know, coaches, a coach athlete relationship the same way. A person who's on a diet and may have a nutrition coach. You know, you go visit your nutritionist and they'll tell you, hey, you got to eat this and stick to this. You know, here's a 7-day meal plan, stick to this. And then you're like right in their face, you're like, yes, I'm gonna do it. I want to lose this weight. I want to be in shape. I'm gonna do it. And then when you get home, you fall off and you're like, well, okay, what they don't know ain't gonna hurt them, so I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna eat that. And you know, so that, but it all falls back on building good character and standing on it and being firm with that. All right, so anyway, I don't want to dwell too long on this one, but I mean, like I said, these sayings and maxims are packed with a lot of information. Okay, learn the structure and function of the sky, learn the structure and function of the earth. Now, you know, people can interpret that any kind of way, but you know, and the beauty of these different wisdom texts, we have other texts to compare them to, and then knowing, being familiar with a lot of inscriptions and texts, you can start comparing and seeing the different kind of mentality in the ancient times of what was meant, what was likely to be meant by that. But when it says learn the structure and the functioning of the sky and learn the structure and the functioning of the earth, it is clear that it's saying that you have to learn how things are structured and how they function, meaning how do things work in the sky, cosmos? How do the heavenly bodies, how is everything working in accordance to each other, the laws that are govern these things? And then look at the earth, you know, your immediate surroundings. Look at how things operate, how things function, how things are structured. And if you learn about that, then you can actually incorporate that into your life, into your personal life, and into your circle of your family and your community and your nation. And if you notice, ancient Kemet was structured on a geographical level, on a social level, and then other levels based on these very statements right here: the structure and functioning of that which is in the sky. And people will say it today, you know, they look at the three pyramids and say, oh, that's as above, so below, you know. And then so you got that aspect. Then as far as the earth, people will say, well, you know, the ancient Africans in the Nile Valley, they studied nature. You know, everything is about nature, observations of nature. We have Medu nature, Mother Nature, or the words of nature, and things like that. So it's staring us right in our face. But anyway, so um, That's just my take on that paragraph. I mean, anybody else got something that they see just in there?
Yeah, guess it's just like you guys have said it. But what I like to add is that I think what I see when reading that is just something that we don't see a lot of, is that we have to we have to we have to be proud about being students, you know, students in life and everything. I would say because I know there's we see a lot where people some people want to be masters or teachers, and it's like, I'm not a student of this, but there's also we also have to take pride in being students, and we don't see that a lot. Nobody wants to wear the title of being a student, but there's a lot. I mean, it's a good thing, and reading now, it just it shows to how we need to appreciate learning, and learning at all times, like you say. I mean, you don't you have to, you can't say that I'm learned, but rather, set yourself to become wise, and that's a process, and that's like I think it's a lifelong journey or process. So we're always students, or whatever it is. We never really master everything. So and that is something that we have to learn to appreciate and be proud of, and also reading the last line about learning the structure and functioning of things. I think that speaks to the sciences as well. And we hear a lot of talk about this about there's just this really negative thing about science, and is it white man science and all that kind of stuff. And it's something that is ingrained in us from way back when. So we have to really appreciate and be, and try to learn all the sciences we can, you know. So I guess that's what I'm taking from it.
To Sinet, yeah, that was nice. That was the line I was about to pick out too. But yeah, it's important. I'm glad you touched on it.
Yeah, definitely. That's excellent. Um, and you know what when you were saying that, what came to my mind was the actual glyphs that are used for both the word teacher and the word for student. And in Rani Kemet, the language of Egypt, the word is Seba, as people pronounce it as Seba or Siba, and or Sibait, which would be a pupil, a student, or a teacher, male or female. And those words, to be a student is to be a teacher. You have to be a student first before you can teach anything. So you have to learn. And this kind of goes into that line that you're sharing on your screen, June, where it says, examine every matter that you may understand it. You can't teach uh, on any information that you yourself don't understand. And personally, when I learn something of interest, and I'm not just looking at something for entertainment purposes, but as I'm learning, what I do, and I've just automatically practiced this. It's something that I've done pretty much all my life, is that I will explain it back to myself, or I will try to explain it to someone else. And when you're able to explain it to someone and they understand it, then you understand it. That then that you have grasped it and you have comprehended that which you learned, or whatever the case is. So a lot of people learn by teaching at the same time, and it's reflected in the language. You have Siba, to teach, um, and then Siba, which is a student. And in both cases, teachers and students, they do what's called sejim, which means to hear, listen. But not listen all the time with your physical ears as far as sounds, but sejim also carries the meaning of understanding, to understand something. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out as well. So that's what came to mind as Tonika was explaining that. But before we go on to the next one, I just want to check to see if there's anybody in the chat that has any comments about what we were talking about, or I just don't want to miss anything. Take pride in being a student, that's for sure. And I see, yes, spanking them right at the moment. Yeah, see, anybody that has children, they understand. I'm telling you, children, parenthood. will change your life. Best believe it. I encourage everyone. I mean, everyone has their different circumstances and things like that, but man, go through parenting at some point in your life. Not too early and not too late, you know, because it's definitely a part of life. It's a wonderful experience. And children, you look, children are not born with instruction manuals. And that's why they say it takes a village to raise a child, because children are not born with the instruction manual come out with the placenta. It's not like that. All right. So all right, so let's move on to the next one. Anybody else have one they want to share? No. Okay, I'll share. Let me share my screen real quick. Let's see. Hmm. I'm gonna try to share it where I don't have to do my entire screen. Uh, okay, well, yeah, I guess I have to. All right, let me lock it on my screen so everything be all right. Okay, I just need you all to let me know if you can see it. Can you see my screen? Oh, jump back. There you go. Can anybody see it?
Too.
All right. So here is now this is the maxim 5 of the maxims of Ptah Hotep. And in some people's books, if you have the books that are published out there, it may be maxim number 2, as Brother Satep had pointed out to me. So either it's maxim 2 or maxim 5. And basically the difference in those numberings is some people when they show a translation, they'll start the maxims when Ptah Hotep is actually instructing his son. And then some people will start at the very beginning. So that's where you see that number discrepancy. Okay, so if you're following along, if you have an English translation that you're looking at, it may be maxim 2. Just keep that in mind. All right, so I'm just going to read the English here, but what you can see is interlinear. You have the glyphs, you have the transliteration, and you have let me put my cursor on it. You have the glyphs, you have the transliteration, and then you have the translation. Now these particular glyphs are also transcriptions. They're transcribed from the hieratic. And I think I have the actual original. Okay. This is just a portion of the actual papyrus that this is from, the Maxims of Ptah Hotep. It's on Papyrus Prissy. If anyone, you can look that up later. It's Papyrus Prissy, and I believe it's housed at the British Museum. But this is a picture of it, and if you look at it, now this is written in hieratic, what Egyptologists call hieratic. All right. The closest indigenous term to this would be, as I think I said, we said it last week, as a Seshmajat Necher, which is the inscriptions of divine books, or not books in our sense, but divine papyri. All right, and this is written in hieratic, so this is in the language of Rani Kemet, or ancient Egyptian, but it's a different script. And people should be familiar with the different scripts. You have Seshmetu Necher, which are the formal hieroglyphs that are pretty ones, and then you have simplified Seshmetu Necher that you'll see in the various different so-called books of the dead, or the Peret Imheru. And then you'll see what they call hieratic, which is what you're looking at. And then you'll have another script, Demotic, and then even another one that was used, which is Greek. I mean, sorry, Coptic, but it actually uses a lot of the Greek characters. All right, so you have Coptic, Demotic, hieratic, simplified Seshmetu Necher that Egyptologists will call cursive hieroglyphs, and then you have hieroglyphs. All right, but we don't use those terms. I believe last week, let me see if I still have that slide. I don't think I have that slide, but we clarified the terms that we use just so people will know that instead of hieroglyphs, we say Seshmetu Necher. Instead of cursive hieroglyphs, we say simplified Seshmetu Necher, because that's all it is. Instead of hieratic, we say Seshmajat Necher, and Demotic is Seshnishat, and Coptic is Coptic. We leave that alone. All right. Now, in this hieratic script, um, you know, it takes you away from the actual pictorial glyphs to where you have to have a trained eye to pick out the glyphs, but some of them will stick out the same. Like for example, if you can y'all see my cursor? Can y'all see my cursor?
Too.
Okay. Um, like here, you can see a folded cloth. Certain ones will still have a basic shape, especially the basic shape ones. But then it just takes a matter of time to learn these characters and match them up with the actual pictures. It's just that it's harder. It's like looking at somebody's handwriting in cursive versus print. You can readily read print faster than you can read somebody's handwriting until you get used to it and accustomed to their handwriting. All right. So it's the same principle at work here, and I think we discussed it last week, so I won't dwell on that. But I want to show you here in this thing, just so you can see where this one begins. Like here, this is a reed leaf. Here, this is a mouth. So this is transliterated as IR, and then you have this bird here, and then you have an owl right here. Now I'm saying these things, but it doesn't look like an owl. It doesn't look like a reed leaf. Well, this one kind of does look like a reed leaf. It's only missing that line that would connect at an angle right here where it looked like a reed. But that's a reed, mouth, a bird, an owl, and this that I'm just familiar with. This is a basket with a handle with that long stroke on there. And this is another bird here. Most likely, if this is the owl, this is the vulture. We have another reed leaf here, folded cloth right here. So you can with time um, match these up to the actual formal glyphs themselves. And it doesn't take that much. It just takes some dedication, some patience, some time. So you see this K, this will be a basket with a handle. We transliterate as a K. You see it right here. You can see it down here where my cursor is. So it's kind of easy. Once you spot it once, you can see another owl right here. You can see the same bird right here. Owl. So this is the word gem. I can see this is gem. Over here, this is the word gem. Here. So, but yeah, so this is where this starts at. So if I go here, you'll see here, IR, which is reed leaf, and then you have gem. Gemek, here's the basket with the handle. And then you have Ja-is. So you have the reed leaf, the folded cloth, and this quail chick again. So let's go back and you'll be able to see it. So you have the reed leaf, the folded cloth, and the quail chick. All right. Quail chick. You see quail chick right here. I'm sorry, now this is the vulture. So you see the difference between the two birds. It's a quail chick, how it's drawn, and this is a vulture, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to dwell on that, but I just want to let the viewers know that there were several scripts in ancient Kemet, and once you learn the formal Seshmedu Necher, going from that over to hieratic is not hard. It just takes time. So it's just something that's tedious and time consuming, but it's not something that's hard. All right. But that's where we began with this particular inscription. So Maxim 5, it says, should you encounter an adversary in his moment, one superior in skill to you, bend your arms and bow. It actually says bend your arms and bend your back, but bending your back is bowing. Bend your arms and bow. Do not raise your heart against him. You cannot dissuade him. You belittle bad talk by not resisting him in his moment. He will be called a know-nothing when your control of heart has shouldered his possessions. And in this case, possessions is speech. Okay? So this maxim stood out to me. I mean, all of them do, but it's kind of hard to choose any particular one. But I'm showing this one because this is an example. Now, there's three maxims that are very similar. They almost have the same wording, except this one where it says, should you encounter an adversary in his moment, one who's superior in skill to you. The other two deals with one who is equal to you, and then the third one is one who is lesser in skill to you. So there's three pretty much back to back. So I'm just showing one. But this stands out because this speaks about somebody who's in his moment. So what does that mean, in his moment? Can anybody on a panel, what do we think that means when someone is in their moment?
At his prime, like how we would say, at your prime.
All right, in the context of this, should you encounter an adversary in his moment, one superior in skill to you, bend your arms and bow. Do not raise your heart against him. You cannot dissuade him.
Yeah, no.
Anybody else want to give a shot? Okay, because we say it today. It's an idiom today. Like if somebody's cutting up, like if you're on public transportation and you're sitting there on a bus or something like that, and you see a little child acting up, what's one of the things we say? We're like, oh man, that child having a moment. Hey, he having a moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
So a
Yep,
person,
having a fit.
right, having a fit, being emotional, displaying emotions and things like that. So should you encounter an adversary in his moment, like at the time that they're having this fit or this outburst or this over display of emotions, and this person happens to be superior in skill to you, then it's telling you what to do. It says bend your arms and bow, which means, don't do anything, be humble. Don't raise your heart against him, because at that time you cannot dissuade him. That means that somebody who's very emotional, you can't change their mind while they're in their moment, which means while they're in their moment of being emotional, you can't change their mind. That's why, if any of you know good counselors or whatever the case is, they'll say the same thing. While somebody's heated and arguing, the worst thing you could do is to argue back, because they're not going to hear you, and all you'll end up doing is pouring gasoline on the fire. That's all you'll be doing. As parents to children, let your child talk back to you while if your child does something wrong, and then you're trying to reprimand your child or discipline your child, and you're having this kind of emotional talk with your child. Let your child say something back to you. That's gonna make it worse. You're gonna get mad. It's gonna go from just a verbal scolding to, go give me that switch. Go get, where my shoe at? You know what I mean? So these are the kind of things that we see, in these inscriptions. Anyway, so then it goes on to say how to resolve it. What do? You belittle bad talk, which means you reduce bad talk by not resisting him in his moment. That's straightforward. When somebody's emotional and they going on a rant or whatever, you let them get it off. You let them blow the steam out. You get it off, because the moment you don't, because while they're emotional, because remember, emotions, when somebody's emotional, they logic and reasoning goes out the door, or it dials down. A lot of people are in trouble with the law because they snapped. We got a word for it. We call it snapped. Some people even go further and say, "Oh, I blacked out," and you get in trouble by the law. You got domestic violence where women beat up on men. Now let me stop. It's domestic violence. I mean, you do. Yeah, you got women who beat up on men. You got men beating up on women. But you have domestic violence out there, and a lot of real domestic violent cases. You'll see where the person, once they've totally passed the situation, everything like that, they've totally calmed down. They done got in trouble with the police, got arrested, and things like that. They will try to explain themselves like, hey, I snapped, I blacked out, or whatever. It don't have to be domestic violence. It could be just violence, period. People in the heat of the moment, they would just react and do things, and then when the situation calms down, they will come back to quote unquote, and then they may have regrets. They're like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to do that. You know, even child abuse. You know, people abuse the children the same way. A parent may have had a bad day at work, a bad day, whatever, and come home. A child may slip up and do something instead of just the normal discipline. A parent may snap and black out, and then next thing you know it, child protective services is at your door. You know. So anyway, um, but this is saying to belittle bad talk, someone because we're talking about bad talk. We're talking about somebody who's being emotional and have bad talk. And the word bad here, if you can see right here, Jed bin. So Jed is to speak, and bin is evil or bad, not evil as in the devil, but bad talk. So and then it's Sened ek is saying you reduce or you belittle. Jed bin, which is bad talk, and then M by, and then Tim not, and then Chesef to resist him, sue him. In M, which is M as in Mary, M or in translation, and then at F, which is at was the word moment, and then his moment. So when he's in his moment, while he's going through this, you don't resist it. So this is a solution. And then here's the results of your actions. Here's a reward. It says he will be called a know nothing, which is chem ket, which is the word chem means to be ignorant, and ket, which means things. So ignorant of things is what the phrase literally says, but you know, in the context, this means a know nothing. He'll be called a know nothing, or he'll be called somebody who's ignorant, you know. And the only reason why he'll be called ignorant is because you do all these things. You don't raise your heart against him. You what it says, you bend your arms and bow, and you control your heart. When it says control your heart, right here, is basically saying you have what do you call it, self control. You have self control. And shoulder, when you shoulder his possessions, that means you just carry the weight. You should be strong. Just, you know, controlling your heart makes you strong enough to shoulder his words here. All right, so that's pretty much the breakdown of this maxim. But these are things we take for granted, but these are things that were impactful in Kemet and lasted for thousands of years. This, you know, the maxims of Ptah Hotep goes back. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head. Maybe somebody on the panel, if you do, by all means call it off. But these maxims are very, very old. They went from Ptah Hotep all the way up until the fall of Kemet. Even, I mean, you know, these maxims go before Ptah Hotep, but as far as this particular one, or these kinds of statements have always been made. And people want to know, like people talk about Ma'at, or I live a Ma'atic way of life, and this and that. And we only deal with Ma'at being truth, order, reciprocity, balance, and stuff like that. But where is the expression of living Ma'at? You know, so how many people actually look to these wisdom texts to actually see the day-to-day aspects of living Ma'at, so to speak? And this is the kind of text that you'll find it in, you know. And June, you mentioned a good book. I don't know if I had his picture. Let me see. Do I have his picture? Yeah.
Who see it? Yeah, it's in the middle on the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. I got it right here. So yeah, that's a good book. We
Yeah,
have
that's a real good one.
Ptah Hotep, and we have on University Kemet Press book called Ma'at, Guiding Principles of Moral Living. Dr. Raketi Amin wrote an excellent book, Centered Life Living Ma'at. Then we have Mwalimu Bomani Baruti. He's out of Atlanta, and he wrote a book called Iwa, a Warrior's Character. Then we have Malefikete Asante, who wrote Egyptian Philosophies that speaks about character. So all these books I recommend, and there's more. But anyway, that's the maximum that I had to share. I don't know if any of y'all had any comments on it.
Tep need to get back in. Join this.
Okay, let me bring him back in.
I know.
Yeah, I think he's the one that's messaging me. Get back in. All right, yeah, there you go. Got him back in there. I don't know if anybody else had a comment on that. What you think about what it's saying? You know, I'm just giving my basically my spill and rundown commentary on it.
No, I think that's a good one. Good instructions on how to maintain character, you know, in the face of your adversary at his moment. No, that's real good. I know it's hard to do, but it's you know, once you read these and you know, study them, it'll get into your brain and hopefully into your actions. Something to think about at least when you come, you know, ever have that situation happen to you.
Mhm. And like I said, this is the first one of three in a row, maximum 5, 6, and 7, I believe. And they pretty much worded similar. And one is dealing with one who's superior in skill to you. The other one is a equal, and then another one who's less in skill to you. So it covers everything. So your status, in other words, your status doesn't matter, or the your opponent, or in that instance, your adversary's status doesn't matter. So this is a perfect example of good character. Your character is not dependent on your it's not swayed by the other person's action. And we say that today, this very day. We have a saying where we'll say something like, "Don't stoop to his level." You know, don't stoop to his level. Don't. That stuff is beneath you, and things like that. So what they're saying is somebody's trying to tell you, maintain your good character despite another person's bad character. So just because I curse you out and I call you all kinds of names, it doesn't mean for you to react the same way to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's another way that we express it today. You know, and this deals with character. You know, like you said, it's hard to do because this stuff is not done overnight. And you're right, it's hard to do, and we don't have any institutions from birth, very young age that will cultivate this. Or I should say, we don't have that many institutions, and they're not ones we do have. They're failing us. But if nobody else have any comments, I do have another one.
2400 BCE.
24. Okay, good. Do I 2400 for the maximum of Ptah Hotep. Now when people look up the Papyrus Prissy, that actual papyrus itself is not dated to 2400, but the text that is from, because a lot of these different texts were copied over and over and over again. All right, that's why we are fortunate enough to still have them in our well, I won't say in our possession, but they're available for us to actually examine, tangible, attested inscriptions and things. You know. All right, so that's that maxim, and I want to go to another maxim. This maxim was pulled out by Sonnet Tonica, and I'll read it unless you want to read it. This is just the one that you had pulled out. I want to go through it and give your thoughts on it.
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and read it. Um, well, it says, if you're a man of excellence sitting in the council of his master, set their heart on excellence. Your silence is more beneficial than controversy. You should say what you know how to explain. There are experts of words in the council. Speaking is more difficult than any duty. The one who can explain is the one who makes it work. Um, well, and the reason why I picked it, I think it was just because I was drawn to what it was trying to say. What I got from it was about about being eloquent in speech, and what we call medunefer, and stuff which we don't see a lot of, and I think we explained most of the stuff with the other maxim that June picked out, and it's about like when you read I think on the line 365, your silence is more beneficial than controversy. This is and you should say what you know how to explain. This is about just like when we read on the other maxim was talking about examine every matter that you may understand it. So when you understand something, then you can explain it better. It's like, and because the whole point of communicating is so that whoever you're communicating to understands what you're saying, and it's kind of difficult, to make somebody to understand what you don't understand yourself. And this is we see a lot of this happening where people would like to put themselves in a position of talking about things that they're not proficient at, and talking in a way alluding to the fact that they are actually experienced on it, and the people listening take those things as facts, and and where as opposed to just saying I don't know about this, so I cannot really expound on it so much. So this as we see that actually a lot is lacking, and this explained it well, about just I mean, if you don't know what we always say is, silence is golden. So it's like you don't speak on something that you don't know about. So, and you take the time, if you want to speak on it, then you take the time to learn about what it is that you would like to speak on, and then you can actually explain it better, and I guess when you read on the when you read on the last line where it says the one who can explain is the one who makes it work, so you have authority over what you speak about if you can explain it better. And that goes into about because when you look at thoughts, like you're thinking something, that's something abstract, and then you have to you're transferring it into speech, something tangible. So everything that you say actually is almost it's like a mirror into your thoughts, and so you want to be able to if you're trying to explain an idea to people, you want the next part, you have to keep in mind who's listening, or the listener in mind, and it's not just like you're speaking just because you like the sound of your voice or stuff like that. So we really need to take the time to be like, should I be speaking or should I be quiet? You know how they say, like, you got one mouth and two ears, so you speak less and listen more. So, and this, we don't see that everybody wants to speak about something, in things that they're not even proficient at. So that really attracted me to that kind of thought, and it's something that we need to learn, and we're still working on ourselves and stuff like that. But that's what I took from it. I don't know if there's anybody else who sees something else on that. Okay, so I'm
Yeah,
rambling a little bit.
this is a good one here. This is right on point. I mean, all of these. I mean, like I said, all of the maxims are so on point. It's hard to pick any one, but this is a really good one. Does anybody else have any comments or commentary on this one?
I do like it too, and I've been practicing it, you know, reading stuff like this. Um, it has like a humbling effect, and I don't, do or participate in a lot of things that I used to. After reading stuff like this, you, like I said, read it over and over and get it into your brain and your mind. Um, yeah, it does. I've been practicing this one. I like it.
Yeah, there's a modern urban saying that I always I post up on Facebook a lot is if you cannot improve the silence, and then basically don't speak unless you can improve the silence. That's how I always put it. Don't speak unless you can improve the silence. Because what happens is, especially on social media is so engaging. Everything, because we can't see each other. So all we see are words, characters on the screen. So when there's no characters, there's no activity. So we're subtly compelled to talk or type out something. And what happens is we have this desire or this urge to say something, type something, explain something, share something, and all this and that. but a lot of times we do it just for activity, just to be active. Um, in general, and I'm speaking in general. So, and when we do that, it may not necessarily be something that we've studied in or proficient in or competent in, but yet we're just sharing different things and stuff like that. And that's why I made a comment about posting links to websites and stuff like that. That's not teaching. Posting links to websites can be very beneficial. It could be very informative, but we definitely shouldn't take that as teaching. And I made a comment like that because we tend to mislabel things, or kind of diminish things or bring the bar down, down, down instead of raising ourselves, keeping the bar up high, then raising ourselves up, up, up. Instead, we stay where we are, then we bring the bar down, 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 you know, just so we could jump over it instead of working out and then being able to jump over the high bar. So teaching is definitely not about doing that. But a lot of us we just stay active on social media and we just type out things. So yeah, so it says you should say what you know how to explain, and that is so on point because there's a lot of people who will talk about things that, like you said, Tonika, that are not proficient or competent in, and they'll explain it. But that's okay. Like it's not bad to discuss things that you may not know about, but do it in a we have to, this is where good character comes in. You have to be honest. Like if I don't know something but yet I want to talk about it, there's nothing wrong with anyone doing that, but you have to be honest and treat it like that. Like, okay, well, this is something I'm studying, this is something I'm looking into, and I want to just talk about it and just have a conversation, have a good discussion about it, have a build session, as we say, whatever the case is. But when you want to argue and debate and speak matter of factly about something, and then you get into this combative mode on things that you yourself have not studied or taken the time out to do any kind of rigorous research or even literature review about it, then that's when the problem comes in. That's when the problem comes in. And this is saying, where it says 367, line 367, uh, there are experts of words in the council, you know, because the whole thing, if you start at the top, it says, if you are a man of excellence, sitting in the council of his master, set the heart on excellence. And like I said, I said this earlier, the way we would say this today is like, hey, if you are among people who know what they're talking about, then you better make sure that you're on point. That's basically what it's saying. I mean, in our way of saying it, your silence is more beneficial than controversy. Meaning, be quiet, at least you start some controversy or whatever. Silence is better than doing that. And you should say what you know how to explain. So be quiet until you know, and say only that which you know how to explain. Why? Because they are experts in the council. Because remember, the whole thing is about sitting in council of who? Of masters, or in this case, his master. So when you're in that council, be quiet. Unless you know how to explain something, then you speak on that which you know how to explain. Because these other guys are experts. All right? And then it says speaking, and then it's a reminder at the bottom here, speaking is more difficult than any duty. Now, everybody can talk, so it's not speaking literally of the act of speaking, but it's talking about speaking in the context of not causing controversy. Speaking on something that you know is difficult in any duty. So it's letting you know right here that when you want to set yourself up as a teacher or a person who is instructing someone, it's not hard. It's not easy. I mean, it's some hard work to put that study and time in. And then overall, the end result is the one who can explain is the one who makes it work. I mean, so all this is pretty straightforward to me. That's what I get out of this maxim. The one who can explain is the one who makes it work. And this word "explain" here is this word waha, which also means to like solve something, to loosen something up. If something is tense, like if your muscles were tense, if you get a charley horse or whatever, or cramp, the first thing you're gonna do is massage that cramp out of there. Okay, so so this word right here, waha, is to loosen up something, to solve it, to resolve something. But it's also a word that means explain, because that's what you're doing when you're explaining something. You're you're um you're loosening it to make it more, I guess, smooth. I don't know how to describe it or put it, but when you're explaining something, you're basically breaking something open and loosening it up so that people can see what's really good and what's going on. That's what you're doing. You're breaking something down. You're unfolding something. All right. So anyway, just want to point those things out. And what else sticks out? Here. Okay, excellence of heart. A man of excellence. I'm trying to think of anything that sticks out. You should say what you know how to explain. Um, yeah, here's this word here again. Waha, which is waheg. You explain. And then here's the word rek, which is knowledge. Explain what you know. You know. Um, and so yeah. Anyway, anybody else have anything on this one? And then I'll just go on. I think I stopped sharing my screen. Those are only two that I had on my screen to share. And definitely remember those books right there. But I stopped sharing my screen. And anybody else had anything to share? They want to read from a Maxim? Suggest one. How about the comments? All right, let's see. We got to get it together. I'm looking at the comments here. Heat in the moment. I peeped out about during the outburst the other day. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody's kind of chiming in and saying the same thing. Think before we press send. That's a good one. Definitely, especially in social media. Think before you press that post button. You know. Let's see. Spend time to the backspace. Yeah. Explain with clarity. Say what it is. Give example. Then check the learning. Exactly. 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 Yeah. We got to remember, communication is a two-way street. You, we don't want to talk just for the sake of talking. We don't want to just spit out information to store it in our minds. That's something that we've learned. If you're in a position of teaching, one of the major points of teaching is the comprehension of whoever it is that you're teaching. It always had to be a checking system where you say something and then you confirm if the person understood it. And there's multiple ways on how to do that. You either quiz them, test them, have them explain it back to you, or whatever the case is. But you want to walk people through proper instructions. So all that goes hand in hand. You know. But anybody
Yeah,
got anything?
yeah. I just want to suggest, you already put up the books, but I just wanted to suggest to people to get those. Get your hand on as many as possible and just read them and and practice what you can. And I know I'm not the only one. Other people have said that these books have changed their lives, changed our lives. When you start really reading and practicing it, it will change your life if you aren't already practicing this type of stuff.
Hmm. And anybody that's professing to be this quote unquote comedic, and I really don't understand how that term is being used. But there, I guess that's a label that people use for people who talk about Kemet, I guess, you know. But anybody who studies Kemet or is interested in applying the culture or whatever, because you know studying something may lead to that. Then these are the kind of texts that will be, you know, kind of at the forefront to start applying, you know, starting to read and start to incorporate in your life. You know, these will put you on the right track. Just wholesome, healthy character. That's it. And I want to reiterate that having good character does not mean that you're weak or that you're beneath anyone or you're a pushover or whatever. In fact, it should be the opposite because we say this. See, these are things that we know and we say, but I don't think we connect the dots because, you know, when you see somebody as a friend, let's say, you know, you see two of your friends arguing, two of your friends going at it with each other. Because you're friends with both parties, you're going to try to be the voice of reasoning and you're going to try to, you know, kind of resolve the issue the best way you can without getting yourself caught up in it at the same time. But if you know one of your friends was in the wrong, but yet you got two of them arguing with each other, one of the things that you'll hear somebody say in that situation is they'll tell one of the friends like, hey, you know, won't you just be quiet, you know, don't stoop to their level, let them get everything off their chest, and that's what we talked about earlier. But then at the same time, you're going to tell the person, now somebody's going to have to be the bigger person and apologize. And we always kind of word it that way, like be the bigger man or be the bigger woman and apologize. You know, even if they were wrong or you know you both were wrong, whatever the case is, won't you be the bigger person and apologize first? Just go ahead and let it ride. Just apologize. So we'll say things like that. You know, be the bigger person. So, and the reason I bring that up is because we use that phrase, be the bigger person. So we're telling somebody have good character, and we're equating that with being a bigger person or better person. So, and I'm saying that because we know this information. So having good character is not to belittle someone. It's not being a pushover, a weak person, or whatsoever. It's the opposite. You're actually a stronger person. If I mean, think about it. If somebody is jumping down your throat, arguing with you, cursing at you, calling you all kinds of names, you know how hard it is to be quiet in that situation? The easiest thing is to snap back. Is to just, you know, uh, yeah, I know you are, but what am I? You know that childhood, elementary school back and forth. I know you are, but what am I? You know that kind of back and forth thing. So it's real easy to do that. So it definitely takes a strong character, strong a will to be quiet while somebody is loud and wrong. You know, somebody could be wrong, and you know at that moment, just like the maxim that I read, Maxim 5, um, they could be loud and wrong, but in that moment, let them have it because if you open your mouth to try to correct them at that moment, they're not going to hear you. And we see it every day. We see it all the time. So anyway, these maxims, man, they are applicable right now, 24 hours, 7 days a week. This is not something, you know, and I hear people like, you know, what's the point in studying Kemet? Kemet is old. Kemet is you know, dusty. It's old. It's fallen. Yeah, they got the artifacts. Everything is ancient. It's old. Why go back? Why go back? Why go back? But this is an example of things that are very, you know, applicable right now. You know, like we can get off the air right now and apply uh, the maxims. Pretty much all of them. They are all applicable right now. You know, they're thousands of years old. You said it was 2400 BC. That's 4,000 years ago. We're in 2016. That's 4,000 years ago. But they're applicable right now, right here, right now. So we have to stop with that excuse that just because something is old or that it can't be used. All right. And good virtue, good character never goes out of style. Never goes out of style. You know, to have bad character is to be uncivilized. Remember that. What was those right guard commercials with what's that boxer's name that made those commercials popular? That fought Sugar Ray Leonard. Joe Hagler. I mean, not Joe Hagler. I forgot his first name, but Hagler. um,
Marvin.
yeah, Marvin Hagler. Yeah, he made those commercials popular where, Right Guard or some deodorant, like anything less is uncivilized. And I'm probably telling my age, and I gotta stop doing that. I keep
Yeah, I was about to say. Because I know, I just know him by watching the YouTube fights. So,
oh,
I was going through my boxing phase where I was watching all the old boxers.
okay, yeah. See, you say old boxers. Yeah, I gotta stop doing. I'm telling my age. I'm talking about the Seven Up commercial, and people like Seven Up. You know. But anyway, so yeah, so man, these things are can be applied today. So anyway, that's all I had to share. If anybody else has something to share, then we could kind of um, keep the build going for a little while. I don't know how long we've been on. Only been on for an hour. And let me see. And we have room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 3 slots. So if anybody wants to jump in on a hangout and let your voice be heard, and or be part of the conversation, um, we're coming to a close, but could chime in. Let me know. Type in the chat, and I'll send you the link. And we have brother Sean, Jehuti. I don't know if y'all want to chime on in. Lisa, Monica. Who else? I saw somebody earlier. Somebody else. But I mean, this is all straightforward. And then yeah, this is kind of stuff that, like I said, these things will be a duh moment. It's like you're saying duh, 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 but you'd be surprised. It's not talked about enough, you know? Um, okay, let me send the link out real quick here. You don't like that dead silence. Yeah, just let me know if anybody else want to chime in from the watching the video. But anyway, so yeah, I think that good character is something that needs to be talked about more. I think there should be institutions built or established that cultivate good character, and character is everything. Because even the word character, excuse me, if you look up the word character, it deals with, especially in African languages, it deals with the essence of something, the very nature of something, what you are and what you express. So so it's a two-way thing. Basically, how you behave speaks to your character, and then your character will dictate how you behave. How you respond to all of these different situations and things. So it's definitely a two-way street. And I believe I passed. Oh, let me open up. Okay, so ETM Hotep, we had a sister Monica has joined us, and I know you probably have some comments and some things to say because I saw you typing in the chat. So I just opened it up for you if you have any anything to say to build on what we were talking about.
Hey, awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad you're having this
Okay.
discussion. I'm so glad you're having this discussion because so often people who fold into organizations forget about the character or the makeup of either an organization or individually. And then what happens is they get personal. Everybody's all of a sudden has gotten so sensitive and personal. And maybe they have been like this the whole time. I'm not sure. I just started coming amongst people in the last 2 years, but they get really personal. And I know, when I was faced with that, being a leader in the desert in Iraq or whatnot, and I used to get really personal sometimes when people questioned my leadership or questioned my stance on some particular things until I had to take a step back. A leader put me to the side, I had to take a step back. And that's why I always post that comment, discretion is better than valor, is that if you're perceiving something a particular way and it's causing you to act out of character, then you might need to check yourself.
Hmm.
and why every time you take things so personal, and how you're responding. And I think sometimes that if we don't take we're not getting counseled or advice from people, what do you think, how do you think I reacted, or what do am I overreacting, or or am I tripping, or maybe they're tripping, what is it? And take accountability, and then take the constructive criticism and work on it. um I
Hmm.
posted something before that said about the characteristics and how we used it. We used it in business using personality traits, and we did something called True Colors. And what True Colors did, it showed when it showed the characteristics, it showed what you thought of yourself, the type of characteristics you thought you had, and what other people thought of those same characteristics. That was a huge eye opener and whatnot.
Hmm.
Because somebody perceived as being organized, other people perceived them as being um, nitpicky or too detailed. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think knowing what you say about yourself and what someone else says about you, or that particular characteristic you may possess, like uh, authoritative. Somebody else might just think you're a pushover.
Hmm. That brings to mind too that we live in a world. It kind of goes hand in hand with what I said earlier about in today's time, especially in the city life, where you have to walk around with a screw face because you want to give off this impression of that you're not soft, you know, and so that's kind of married to the um the concept of I don't need anybody, or like I'm not worried about what other people think. You have people out here that really feel that way. Like I don't care about what anybody thinks, and that's the wrong attitude to have. That's not a healthy attitude to have, because we don't live in this world on our island of our own, and we're not solo, and we live among our fellow man and woman, and a lot of things that we do, whether we will admit it or not, is for the either attention or the approval of the next man or next woman. So a lot of people go around delusional saying that I ain't worried about what other people say. But you only say that at that moment that you're saying it, that's that rebellious thing, because you don't want to have that internal guidance. So we tend to be rebellious and be like, all right, well, I'm not going to listen to even my own inner counseling in my own head, like, oh, I'm not worried about what other people say. And then that's the wrong attitude to have, you know. So we have to kind of work on that. And that's what came to mind when what you said when as far as
Mhm.
knowing how you see yourself, and then actually taking the constructive criticism from others, and seeing what other people think, because then you could be like, well, wait a minute, because they see, and I know this to be an absolute fact, just in a different arena. Like I'm not sure everybody experienced this. When you talk, you hear yourself a certain way. Like I'm talking about the actual sound of your voice, and
Yes.
and
Yep.
that's because your vocal cords and your voice and everything is attached to your body, which is attached to your ears, and all everything is vibrating. So you hear yourself in a certain way as you're talking. But the moment you record your voice and you play it back, now that vibration is gone. So you're actually just hearing your voice, and nobody really sounds the way that they thought they sound or think that they sound. And some people don't like it, like me. I'm like, I can't. I sometimes I can't even watch these videos. Back that I'm talking. So I'm like, ooh, but that's just a real tangible thing where you don't realize that how you see yourself and how you hear yourself in this case is different than what other people hear you. And so that kind of goes right over to what you're saying in terms of your personality and your character as well.
And also folks who choosing to be public speakers, and you're speaking to the world, and you're not just speaking to your clique, and you're coming out and you don't have good character, and you use that concept, well, I don't care what people say or think. Well, you're trying to lead a people, you're trying to lead the nation. You got to care,
Hmm.
because you're creating little mini me's out there.
Yeah, role model. But to be a role model, and that's the thing. To be a role model, you have to care. Imagine if what's like President Obama just didn't care. That just wouldn't go over very well. or any executive of any business or anything that people look at as a high position or whatever the case is. Let me let Brother Antoine in. ATM Hotep, son Antoine.
Hotep, Hotep.
All right. But yeah, that's good. That's an excellent thing to do. So whatever you were speaking about, you said the true color test or that I actually saw a show similar to what you said, but it wasn't dealing with personalities. It was actually dealing with looks.
Hmm.
So, like your example dealt with personality so much, then I was speaking about how your person sounds. But I saw this video where there was a artist, a person who could draw really, really good. And what they did was they had a person come in, and the person who was the artist, he was blocked off from seeing how the person looked. And what he did, he had the person describe themselves. So, the details, like how my head is this way, my hair is this way, whatever. So this artist was drawing based on what they were saying. So he couldn't see them. And then when it was all said and done, they moved the curtain, and then the artist could see the person, and then they can compare what the person really looked like versus what they described themselves as. And it was an eye opener to those people, because you had people that were that saw themselves as fat that really weren't fat, and the way they drew them, and they actually cried. They're actually sitting there crying because they actually see themselves through the eyes of someone else at that point. So those are good examples. It kind of ties into what you were saying about the character part. But I think these are exercises. See, these kind of exercises are done in Africa, but not exactly how we're describing them. But they're done. You have a check and balance system that allows you to grade yourself. Matter of fact, the famous thing that people know about the most is the so-called 42 laws of Ma'at. You know, uh, People think that those 42 laws are for dead people, but these are things that or declarations of innocence. These are things that you do to judge yourself every single day, every single time, right before you go into the duat of the daily duat, what we call sleep. Before you go to sleep, you're supposed to check yourself. You're supposed to judge yourself on an everyday basis. And these are the various necharu that are quote unquote the eyes that are judging you, but it's yourself. You're just trying to put yourself in their shoes to judge you, because it's real hard to judge yourself objectively otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So, that kind of ties into another show that we're gonna have, because we're gonna talk more about the Book of the Dead, the Prayer of Meru of Ani. But we'll go into that more. But that's something that happens every night, every day. Declarations of innocence. You in the morning you say I shall not, and then in the evening you say I have not, and you got to be honest. You got to either say I have not, and then some stuff you did, you got to say, hey, I did it, and you got to work to change those things. So yeah, and all this speaks to character. But brother Antoine, I know you came in late. You have any comments on I don't know if you had the chance to see or hear the beginning of the discussion, but I'm gonna give you a chance if you have any comments to make.
Oh no, apologize for my tardiness. Um, I know we're looking at different maximums of the teachings of or instructions of Ptah, and I'm not sure if everyone shared one. I just had one to share. This was number 24. I'm not sure if anyone shared that or talked about that one.
No, you can read it if you want, or if you have
Yeah,
a screen, or you can just read it.
yeah, I can read it real quick. Instruction number 24 kind of deals with the topic. It basically states that if you are a man of worth who sits at the council of a leader, concentrate on being excellent. Your silence is much better than boasting. Speak when you know that you have a solution. It is the skilled person who should speak when in council. Speaking is harder than all other work. One, I got
Well,
one more.
actually, what you just read, see, and I said this earlier, that sometimes the numbers are a little off, but that's actually the one that Sonnet Tonica had shared. Yep,
Okay, okay,
we did.
excellent.
We went over that one. That's a good one. That's an excellent one.
Yeah, so it looks like we're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely, I guess and I had one more, and I'll kind of speak about that one since I wasn't in here when she shared it. But basically, I tell my students, it's God gave you two ears, or I probably shouldn't say God, but anyway, you have two ears and one mouth,
Are you
so you
teaching
should
religion
be
in school? Uh-oh.
right, right.
Huh.
So, and so based on that, you should be listening twice as much as you should be talking. And so, one of the problems, or one thing I think that exemplifies good character is someone who's willing to listen and to not only listen, but to understand or comprehend what is said and then go back and apply it. And so
Mhm.
that was, I definitely agree with that one, the one that Sister picked out.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a good one. And I think, see, that this kind of stuff is not like exciting, and it's not part of the end thing that's going on. So we live in a culture where we're almost compelled to keep up with the environment, and the environment is trying hard to tell us to be screw-faced, mean, combative, um, to be excited, because we equate excitement and fun with a lot of things that's really detrimental to us. Like how many of you all would actually sit and watch a movie that doesn't have a lot of special effects and some kind of violence or something in it? You know, not too many people will do that. We'll call those kind of movies that don't do it. We'll say they're boring. So this kind of stuff, talking about character building, is a boring topic. But if I talk about who's fighting who's arguing with who, and this and that, that's exciting. That's like, wow, let's, whatever. And we're being conditioned to be this way. Reality TV. Almost on every single reality TV show, there is some kind of altercations, especially on the I don't know what channels they come on, but you got Love and Hip Hop, Love and Basketball, Atlanta Housewives, New York Housewives, all these other different shows. They always have some kind of confrontation, gossip, uh, you know, whatever, and it's being called reality TV. So we're being programmed or conditioned to believe that that is reality. And so whether we know it or not, these things go into our subconscious, and we, subtly, these things happen over time. Because if you think back, what was the first reality show? You got it. Take a moment, but you think back, you'd be like, oh,
Survivor.
what was that?
Survivor one of the
I
Survivor
said
series.
I said Real World on the college Real World tours and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah, like
Oh,
yeah,
before the college tour.
Oh, but you get the idea. Like if you think back to those first reality shows, and then what they become. Because I remember, then you had the matchmaking reality shows with Real and Chance. You had Flavor
yeah.
Flav had his show going on, um, and all the shows that was on MTV or whatever the case is. Even a sister type of concept, which was what do you call it? Not Pimp My Ride, but where people show off their houses and stuff like that. Yo MTV Cribs and stuff like that. So we were conditioned. See, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. These things happen very slow. It's almost like evolution. People want to know, how to study in evolution help us. In knowing the science behind evolution, we'll know how everything evolved, not just living organisms in changing and altering and adapting species and stuff like that, but your consciousness and your behavior and what we do and everything like that also evolves slowly, slowly, slowly. If you don't understand how that happens, then those who do understand it can manipulate you, and that's what happens. And anybody who studies psychology will understand this. Anybody who studies psychology and gets into hypnotherapy and even marketing and advertising, if you are a marketer, advertiser, and you went to school for it, you definitely understand what I'm saying. How the mind and how people can be manipulated, you know, to either buy products or to believe in this or believe in that or whatever the case is. These things are real, and so entertainment, TV, magazines, whatever, all these different medias do the same thing. So, but your culture, as Dr. Marimba Annie always says, and even others, your culture is your immune system. It's what keeps you grounded and allows you to know that a foreign invader is trying to change you. Something is alien within your surroundings, whether it's your mental surroundings or your community or physically or whatever the case is. Your culture allows you to make that judgment. So by us not having a true cultural foundation, then we're open. We're wide open. We're vulnerable. We're open. We we're like flags. We just go wherever the wind blows. You know. So be
Right. That kind of that statement right there, as far as us going where the wind blows, kind of makes me think of. I was talking to one of my fellow brothers, and he was saying, "Man, this conscious community, I wouldn't even want my kid involved in this." And we kind of think about how going to church, a lot of people get morals and character from going to church or learning stories from the Bible. Where when we come to this, comedic or start studying the remnants in their history, and we decide to give up church or Islam or religion, we still need to make sure that we have a set of morals or guiding principles that hold us accountable. And it seems like a lot of us, we've given up the religion, but we forgot to hold on to particular aspects of moral.
mm, that's a good point, and that's that instance of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Because we forsake or we get rid of Christianity or Judaism and Islam and stuff like that. By throwing the baby out the bathwater, we become what we hate because we don't have any compass anymore. So it builds up through a slow process. It builds up this anarchy, this isfet type of mentality, which will be opposed to Ma'at, and Ma'at is the interrelationship of everything, how things are governed, and law. That's where you get the law part of it from. And you start to be an outlaw, and you act accordingly. And this is where Isfet and everything comes into play. So we're actually breeding people, like we think we're doing something good by getting rid of quote unquote spookism, but by getting rid of spookism, you're creating another problem, and that's not being a resolutionist. And if we want to learn how to truly resolve things, we have role models for that. And a lot of the different Necharu are role models that we can pattern ourselves after. The role model in particular is Jehuti, or Tahuti as people call him. Tahuti is known as the resolutionist. He's the problem solver. And a true problem solver is a person that can solve one problem without creating another. Because you have a lot of people that can solve problems, but in them solving problems, they may open a door and create another problem. That's a win-lose. But Jehudi is a win-winist. He's he well, I say he as far as a person, but the concept, the principle behind it is a win-win situation where you solve a problem and it doesn't create another problem. And that was the goal of conflict resolution, problem solving, and everything of the African. And this is why Africans did not abuse the earth, because we knew the earth was abundant in resources and we utilized the resources, but we didn't strip them to create other problems. Unlike the more Arctic cultures or the European cultures or the Western cultures, as they say, there's a careless attitude towards stripping the earth of different minerals, resources, and so on and so forth. Yes, mining for oil will solve one problem, but it creates a bigger problem. You got global warming. You got the tectonic plate shifting because of the different oils or whatever that's these plates that are within the Earth's layers, that are shifting things around. The oceans are being polluted and so on and so forth. Forests and trees are being cut down. So this is an example of how the culture dictates all of these things. Just to give one example on those lines is just the very word earth. If you ever look at Indo-European words for earth, um, the summary of all the words in European language, in Indo-European languages, will paint the picture of the earth as being barren or not valuable, uh, dirt. What's some other adjectives? Dirt. Um, something that's just plain, something that's just there, that can be abused, that gives you an excuse to abuse. But in Africa, if you look at all, throughout Africa in a different uh, variety of African languages, and you look up the word earth in these different languages, you'll come away with words such as medicine, such as a hatchet that carries medicine, something that's living, something that's breathing, um, all these different words that bring about the thought of something that's alive, something that you need, something that is very, very valuable. And it's because of these concepts that that uh, the culture, conditions you to understand is how you behave and how you treat it, how you treat things. So the Africans, for the most part, didn't abuse the planet, Earth itself. Whereas you got the European cultures or the Indo-European cultures and all its varieties, they don't have a problem with abusing the earth. So all this stuff uh, uh, ties in, and relates to one another. And we just have to get back to it. We just have to get back to it. But I don't want to be all long-winded. Like I said, I think we are on the 2 hour mark. But I mean, Antoine, you had anything else? Because I know you came late. You probably got a mouthful.
Yeah, I'm not going to share too much, but basically the only other thing I had was basically pretty much dealing with good speech, and kind of I think that's one of the overlying themes in Instructions of Ptah, where he talks about, let's see, don't say something and then take it back. Don't put one thing in place of another. Beware of releasing the restraints in you, lest the wise men say. Listen if you want to endure in the mouth of the hearers. Speak after you have mastered the craft. So it kind of talks about, once you've mastered your craft, then you can speak on it or kind of go into discussion. Another thing as far as good speech, it says be deliberate when you speak so that as to say things that count.
Yeah.
A lot of times, individuals are saying things like I said, just to be heard or saying things just to go against what someone else said. Whereas it's important, to have good character, it's important to master your craft and then, present your evidence or, speak on the topic or term. So those are just the other two things that I want to share as related to the instructions of Ptah Hotep.
Yeah, that's good. Those are all excellent ones. Like I said, the entire instructions is it's hard to kind of just pull some out, and it's a lot. It's pretty lengthy text because you have Kagimni and Ptah Hotep within the Papyrus Prissy. Um, but one thing I wanted to add, I don't know who on the panel said this though, or alluded to this, is that you also need individually, you also need a support system. Because, matter of fact, I think Sister Monica, you had mentioned something along these lines that um, you said, somebody pulled somebody to the side, and stuff like that. Without that support system, without surrounding yourself with people who are up on the same efforts that you're making in terms of building good character and stuff like that, then people will still they can fall off the bandwagon and get lost. Because you can start off and mean well and do things, but if you don't surround yourself with the people that are doing the same thing or have been there, done that, and understand what you're going through and it can help you, then it becomes harder, And that brings to mind something June, you had brought up earlier that caused me to look it up. This is coming from, I'm just gonna read it. This is coming from the instructions that you brought up, June, Ankh Shashunk. And it talks about basically friendships. This is just some sections on friendships, and these instructions are kind of self-contained. They don't really relate to one another, but they're all good. So I'm just gonna read a few of them. It says, a wise man seeks a friend, a fool seeks an enemy. A friend of a fool is a fool. A friend of a wise man is a wise man, and that that makes sense. Um, the friend of an idiot is an idiot. Okay, so that lets us know that you got to pick your friend. We say this every day, but you got to pick your friends wisely. Birds of a feather flock together. See, these are ways that we express these same things nowadays. You know, be careful of the company you keep. You know, these are the kind of things that we'll say today. And if any of you all have children, um, and the parents, especially if you have teenage children, when your child brings a friend, you know, a new friend home, you know, or whatever, have you meet them. A lot of parents, especially grandparents, they can feel that friend out immediately. Like first 5 minutes, it's like, nope, that person's no good. Don't bring that person around my house again. You know, stuff like that is said. Or you know, that mother's intuition. They're like, oh nope, I don't like that one. Nope. Mm-mm. You gotta get these little things. I'm sure all y'all, anybody who got parents, or not even if you have, I mean, have children, but uh, all of us were once children, so pretty much everybody experienced that. You know, I'm sure all of us. I know I have. I brought somebody, you know, one of my buddies home. Mother's like, nope, something not right about that person.
Yeah, that's funny.
Nope.
Yeah, my mom used to my mom does it. She still do it to this day, and she'll check the person and tell them what's not right about them, just so they can fix it. When you fix that, then you can come back.
Oh yeah. That's what we need. We need more of that. See, that's that back in the day stuff. See, that kind of stuff never goes out of style. It,
Hmm.
it shouldn't, I should say. Shouldn't go out of style.
Yeah, that reminds me of and it's funny that you brought that up because I was kind of talking about I was running late, so I was telling my wife I want to get into this hangout. And it's like, okay, I want to be around like-minded people or people who are thinking the same, have the same train of thought or have good character or what have you. And also, when you give certain things a name, we kind of talk about I guess the elements of the soul or what have you. When you give people a name, whenever it gets that name, it also gets that spirit. And so collectively, what spirit does the group have as far as this Seshma you mentioned at a group or whatever you're dealing with? What spirit goes along collectively with that name? Is it a good name? Does it have a good name, a reputation for themselves?
hmm Now, see, you said a mouthful right there because that's a whole conversation because it goes into what a name is. From an
Yes.
African's perspective, your name a name is supposed to accurately represent your, like you said, your spirit. This is why the Ren in Kemet, the Ren, which stands for name or identity, is very, very closely related to the Ka, or the expression or the double of someone. The Ren and the Ka kind of go hand in hand. And whether you're an individual or whether you're a group or organization or even a business, the name is supposed to reflect the behavior or the nature or the characteristic of something. And then so what happens is when we move away from accurately naming things, then we can be fooled on the receiving end, or the giving end. We could fool people. So we have these misnomers out there where we can call something that is really not, and then we could be fooled by that. And you see that going on a lot, like people claiming to be teachers that are not really teachers. You got people claiming to be kings and queens that are not, don't have no kingdoms. People that are claiming to be gods and goddesses, high priest and priest of this, that, and the third, but they're not. So and that's what I meant earlier by lowering the bar. We bring the bar down instead of leaving it where it is, and let's elevate instead of bringing everything down. People claiming to be musicians and entertainers, rappers and stuff, um, and they're really not. But in today's society, they are. By those definitions, they are. But man, you go back, like people who are older, they're like, man, that's not music. That's
Yeah,
not.
I saw that double XL freshman class freestyle, and I'm like, nah, rap is it's over. It's over for rap.
Yeah,
Over.
exactly. So
Yeah,
we lower the bar. So sometimes technology can hurt us because a lot of technology makes things readily accessible and cheap as far as in price, and gives people a chance to like even Google Hangout, like the platform we're using right now, Google Hangout,
Hmm.
YouTube and Google Hangout. It didn't cost any money except for whoever paying your internet bill. Outside of that, You got webcams, they're cheap. You get a webcam for $15. Comes with a built-in microphone. YouTube is free. Sign up for Gmail is free. You get on here, you can say whatever you want, become famous. You can play the piano, play something, play a beat, tap out a little boom bap, boom bap, boom bap, boom. Uh, Kick a 16 bar, make up anything. You ain't got to rhyme anymore. You know, you can talk about anything. Just make some sounds.
Yeah.
That's what the song is called. And that's it. You got a hit. You know, you got to have somebody co-sign on you, co-sign with it. The right marketing, show some skin, get some women in the video. That's it. Instant hit. But it's sad. But I'm telling you, our culture, our characters, you know, comes out of our culture. We don't have either. You know, we don't have a culture, therefore we got a lot of wayward character out here. You know, and I don't want to get the impression that people out here walking around nose high and perfect. We're all a work in progress, but it's just that we need people to you know, move in a direction of improving character or at least building character or set up some institutions that do that.
Hmm.
You know, that's what we got to have going on. And I just don't see it. Like even right now, there's other hangouts going on right now, live hangouts, and you
Hmm.
know, our hangouts, you know, we don't get a lot of viewers. This kind of stuff is like a specialty because you know, if you're not interested in chemist the language, because that's what we deal with, then you know it's not really going to be attractive. But the moment we talk about some gossip or talk about you know controversial things and things like that, then you know, and I always say quality over quantity. Um, you know, that's one thing we definitely focus on among us. But like I said, I don't want to be on long with it. You had something to say? Anybody else had something to say? We can close out. If not.
Yeah, before you close out, I'll rumble again. Um, well, first, I just wanted to welcome the sister, and I wanted to ask her, like, just so we get it right, how do we pronounce your name? Is it Monica? Is it Monica?
Yes, you got it right, Monica.
All right. Okay, good. Yes, and I just wanted to add, welcome, by the way, and it's really nice to have you around. And
Hey.
Uh,
I also wanted, sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
oh yes, I know I'm late, but while she was saying how to pronounce her name, I know that you had said something about at one point in time you had started working or looking towards working on your doctorate. I want to know if you could share a little bit about yourself if you haven't already.
Oh, um, well, so my name is pronounced Monica Lamb, and I've actually I've completed the coursework in a doctoral program, organization and management, and I didn't write the dissertation uh, for various reasons. But anyway, when I went through the program, I actually I didn't have people that knew anything about the doctoral program, so it's kind of like it's you know how they say it's lonely at the top. So it was kind of like being in the world all by yourself. And so I ran into a few things that I just needed to brush up on and enhance, and so I just kind of took a leave of absence off of it. So I did finish all the coursework to that. But some of the things that I do, I have a nonprofit organization called Tri-City Visionaries, and I teach small businesses and uh, nonprofit organizations. Basically, number one, it's funny we talk about the characters, but because that's the first thing I start talking about when teaching people in business, because folks have to understand that everything coincide and from colors to name to how you present yourself. And so I teach small businesses, nonprofits, and so, of course, if I finish the course with a PhD, you know, I've got an undergrad and a master's, all in business and accounting, internal auditor, just retired from the military, Army, um, and I mentor. So I do a whole lot of stuff, getting involved. I'm new to what we call conscious or getting in real active with social media. And so I'm learning. So I kind of tend to flock to those areas that seem like they have some particular organization to it. Uh, and then once I get kind of comfortable, then I get to talking and and trying to chime it in. But I appreciate you guys having me on the panel and allowing me to speak. And it is awesome to hear another sister because I notice a lot of the hangouts are predominant males. And I just want to give kudos to Ujau. Did I say it right? Ujau, because I was giving someone an example about how they should start organizing and learning to teach and putting things down in a book and then teaching people from the beginning to intermediate to advanced. Because if you don't give people blueprint, then they're gonna run wild, and that's why we got people out of character because
Yeah.
there's no blueprint.
Hmm. You're right. And a person that came to mind with that word blueprint is Dr. Amos Wilson.
Hmm.
Um, and his works, I think a lot of people are sleeping on his works in terms of us as a people and what we can do. But now, fortunately, he's an ancestor. But now, fortunately, we have Dakar Kilimanjaro, his wife Ifa Kilimanjaro, and Yahra Neb, and they are the team that's in front of University Kemet Press, and they wrote I think 16, 15 or 16 books
Awesome.
that are really good. You probably see them advertised on the internet. I mean, on Facebook. But they have books about Ma'at. Um, well, the one I shared, they have a books on, like you said, a blueprint, what to do. They have a book on study team, how to
Hmm.
research team, study team, what to do next, setting up a curriculum from K through 12
Oh, I
of
need that.
African schools. Um, they're very, very organizational orientated. They've ran educational institutions as far as Dakai and his wife, and excellent. So um, I'm just saying that we're fortunate to have them, putting in that work right now. But prior to that, it was Dr. Amos Wilson and others that put together these different books. But people are sleeping on those. Those books still apply,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
Um, but in terms of organization, yeah, we need people. See, we need people that understand systems. And I
Hmm.
always say this, that the human body is the best role model, or best model, I should say, to utilize, because our the way the human body is made and functions and operates is a clear uh, blueprint for
Hmm.
how to build systems, how to build organizations, because the way that the body works, the multiple systems we have, from the digestive system to the circulatory, nervous, and all those systems, and then the major organs that spearhead each system, and then how they work together for the functioning of the body as a whole and everything. That's a natural blueprint, and Africans in from time immemorial, or whatever, have utilized the body
Hmm.
as the blueprint, and we have to get to it. So when people say, know thyself, you got to know thyself to do X, Y, and Z or whatever. I don't think people really understand that our understanding of systems and the components, how components work together to form, like Voltron, and work together for other components that came together, and even the way that Kemet in particular, how it was developed as a nation, was the same way. We had
Hmm.
different small communities with local rulers gelling or connecting up with other smaller communities, forming a bigger one, and then you had these two major communities that became Upper and Lower Kemet, and then those two major ones combined to form the Federation, or the Confederacy of Simitawi, or Egypt as we know today. And that alone, lets you know that that's how they pattern things after. Giving birth, reproducing is the same way. Same thing. Connecting. Uh,
Hmm.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I might have cut Tonique off and Monica. I did want to give one last shameless plug for Dr. Amos Wilson. He has a book entitled The Falsification of African Consciousness. This is a must read. It goes into the Eurocentric history, psychiatry, and politics of white supremacy. And it actually lets you know that some of the things that we consider to be African is the falsification of an African consciousness. So I actually think that's a highly recommended book. But I'm sorry to interrupt, and I'll give the mic back to Tonika.
Oh no, you're not interrupting, Sharon. That was great. No, what I was trying to say before, I think it was Sister Monica who had
Yes.
talked about characters with organizations and companies and stuff like that. And that got me to think more about branding and all that kind of stuff. And and then I thought about the group as well and what we are doing. And because even as a group, as Jawa stated, there is there's always a character, whether it's on an individual level or on a organization level. And I just wanted to big up the group once again, because I mean I'm after joining the group, I've seen a lot of changes in me. And the reason why we study all these things is so that we can implement it into our daily lives. And with the group, I know what we talk about on camera, off camera a lot is how we can put all these things into practice. I mean, everything that we are studying. And 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 this is this is what we aim for. And like we were talking about today about building characters. I know in or today in modern times we like to build a lot of technological advances and stuff, but with Kemet is more about building better people, as Uja always says. And this is what we are trying to we're trying to get back to that. And I want to big up the group once again for just bringing me up up to par on that kind of level, where I have to think a lot about when I'm studying something, how can I implement all this stuff into my daily life. And with the group, I see that a lot with the characters among the members and everybody else. So I really appreciate that. And definitely this is something that I will continue to do. And we hope that more people will get into that, where we study these things not to kind of debate and all that kind of stuff, but to figure out how can we implement that stuff in on a community level, and just also on an individual level. But yeah, it was a good point that you brought up, and it got me thinking about that. So do I.
That's excellent, excellent. And yeah, we need more women. We need that balancement. We need women, and I think um, the male dominancy of the debating circuit that we see has kind of pushed the women, or at least kind of turned the women off from either being more vocal. I mean, I've actually seen women on Facebook getting cursed out, for just giving their opinion, just like any other person giving their opinion. I've seen women get called out of their name by men, and I just, and that's just a reflection on the character. And that's why, we had these two shows dealing with character, and we can't speak enough on it, because even right now we've gone over 2 hours about character. We could talk to it blue in our face, until good character becomes cool, just like these Adidas pants everybody's wearing, or now this new hairstyle where they're shaving the side of their heads and then the top of it they're cornrow and putting it up in a bun. I'm like, man, we jump on fads and trends so fast, but the stuff that's cement, rock solid, bedrock stuff, we tend to just neglect. And that's as simple as having good character. So it's sad, but it just tells us how far we have to go um, as a people. And sometimes I used to be of the opinion that you could save everybody, and I think that's frustrated me a lot in the past. And I've had to kind of rearrange my thoughts on that. And some people just don't get it. It's a season for everything. I could talk to them blue in the face to a group of people, and 100 people, only 10 people will get it, and I just have to be okay with that. And then maybe a year from then, I say the same thing, and then the people who didn't get it the year prior, they will get it now. So some people will come into different, they have epiphanies of life, or they have to go through certain experiences to really get it. And I've come to that understanding on a personal level. So I'm cool. It's just that's what I say, quality over quantity. It's better to have amount of people that you fit in one hand, 5 people, than 5 good people than 100 messed up people. you know get a lot more done. But I don't want to drag it on too long, especially on this topic. But let me just double check with the comments on. We have a couple of people. Nasir, Hotel. Oh, let me address some questions. Yeah, I almost forgot. Sorry about that. Let me just scroll up. There was a couple of questions. Let's see. Yeah, water seeks its own level. Indeed, true. That's definitely. Matter of fact, it reminds me, I think Bruce Lee, one of Bruce Lee's statements. something to the effect about water, but that's good. Water is an analogy for a lot of things, metaphor or analogy for a lot of things. People use water a lot. Water will take the shape of whatever container it's in. Um, it's something that's necessary. You can say a lot about water. Let's see. What is the recommended process for getting your name? That's by Nasir. And how should a name be assigned to a person? Oh, basically, okay, that's the same question. Um, well, different people have different methods of getting to that end, but your name, I can just say this, in a lot of African traditions, your name is based on the concept of the idea that your life on earth is the span of time that you're here to conduct business. And there's a pre-life, or there's an existence before living, and then there's existence after living. So you come from uh, an existence, and then you are born into this existence to do business, and then you check out. And so you're here for a particular reason. So what a lot of African traditions will do, they will do what's called divination in some form or fashion. Different traditions have different tools to carry it out, but most of them will do some kind of divination to figure out why you're here. Why were you born? Um, and then once that's figured out, then your name that's given to you is supposed to, well, one of your names, because a lot of people get several names. One of your names is supposed to reflect your goal in life, or your purpose, or your destiny. And that name is given to you as a reminder. So what happens is it your name actually starts off this blueprint of your life. And as your life unfolds, you always have some anchor, something to anchor yourself back into your purpose. So if you ever run astray of your life's purpose, then you can always fall on your name. Because one thing about your name is it's hard to forget. You can forget your phone number, you can forget your other people's phone numbers and everything like that. But if you can forget your name, then something is physiologically wrong with you. you know, it's very hard to forget your name. So the name provides an anchor for you. It grounds you. It keeps you grounded, and your name is supposed to be. It's very, very important. It's probably one of the most important things that you get in life is your name. It is supposed to reflect your destiny, your goal. Okay, so now how different cultures go about doing that process differently. Like for example, in the Akan tradition in Ghana, one of the names that you get is the name that reflects the moment of your birth. So what I just spoke on is your destiny, like the end result, what's your goal. But part of your name is to take a snapshot of the moment of your birth, and they do that by giving you a name that reflects the day, the day of the week that you're born on. So, and I forgot them off the top of my head which days correspond with which names, but they are only a small number of names that people could have in terms of that. You got female names and male names. I know, for example, I think someone born on Sunday, as if you're a male, then they would have one of the names for males would be Kwesi. I believe female on Monday is Ajua. And I may be getting the days wrong.
Yeah, it's the same with the Yukon. I mean, like my name Kofi Paisa. Kofi is born on. I mean, Kofi means firstborn. I'm the firstborn of five, and Paisa means born on Friday. Firstborn, born on Friday. Kofi Paisa. So a lot of um uh, um the Akan people, they would name theirs by, like you say, by whatever date they were. That's the name. If they was born on a Friday, then it would be such and such name. If they was the firstborn, the secondborn, the thirdborn, that's how they decided most of their last names.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and that's a good example. So the Akan, so a lot of African traditions they do it. in some form or fashion. So they'll take a snapshot and they'll name you to reflect your moment of birth, the season and moment of your birth, whether it's you're born in the morning, whether they give you a name that reflects the day or whatever. But then also part of your name will be your goal, your destiny part, you know. And like I said, they'll do different divination to come up with these names. So I mean that's pretty much the only thing I can speak on in terms of how a person should go about receiving their names. So it just depends on what culture you're applying in your life. And you know, us over here in the diaspora in the United States, you know, the African American culture, if I had to look at the naming conventions and stuff in the quote unquote African American culture, it doesn't compare to what I just described, because you have people who will just name people things just for the sake of. Yeah, I know people whose names are, um, named after cars or, name brands and stuff like that. And I don't mean that to offend anybody, because, we don't have a culture that um, you know, cultivated us to do these things. But I always say, when you know better, you do better. So if somebody's out there whose name is Porsche or Mercedes out there, once you know better, or you start anchoring yourself into a culture that's rich in all these different concepts, then when you have children, then obviously you can change that at that time. So I don't mean that to offend anybody, but the culture is what keeps us grounded in all this stuff. So anyway, it depends on which culture that you are applying your life or living. Then you want to find out how that particular culture expresses these concepts of naming people and stuff, like most of us who are influenced by one of the Abrahamic religions or belief systems, Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. You know that babies are named within the 8 days or the eighth day of the naming. They have a naming ceremony and things like that. So that's done. You find that throughout the Bible, whatever the case is. So like I said, it just depends on which culture that you choose to live. Just live it good. Live it. Be honest and live it, and but find out. So I can't go any further than that. Um, on receiving a name, but I can say this. In Kemet, the nectar or nectaret, the feminine deity that's responsible for giving names, is said to be Renenunet or Renenet or Renenunet, and it has the name in there, the word for name in there, Ren, which means identity or name, and that deity gives the name, and it also is a nursing deity, and it's the way that the myth or the story goes is that she gives the name by way of the mother's milk, but all that stuff has other layers of meanings that would take too long to explain at this point. Um, but you'll see. Matter of fact, in the Papyrus of Ani or any of the Book of the Dead that have the pictures drawn in it, they call it vignettes in there. You'll see the scene of the weighing of the heart, and it's the judgment scene. You have the scales of Ma'at, you have the heart in one scale, the feather in another. If you ever look at those closely, on the left hand side above the person being led to the scales, in this case Ani, in the Book of Ani, you'll see the deity Shai and the deity Renenet there. Shai means fortune or destiny. Renenet means, deals with the name. So there's a connection there between the name and your fortune, or the name and your destiny. Okay, even in Kemet. All right, so these things were taken very seriously. And then if you want to look up even more details of how people were named in Kemet, one famous inscription that deals with naming is dealing with Queen Hatshepsut, or Ma'at Kara, as we should call her. That's her Nisut Biti name. But most people know her as Hatshepsut. And you'll see where when she was given her names, the process, you can read about how that the priest did some kind of divination to get her names, and her throne name and so on and so forth. All right.
Part talk about this offline, but I was reading something last night about Hatshepsut and Immaculate Conception behind her.
Yep. With
Yeah.
Amun.
So
Amun did the Netra Amun, right?
yeah.
hmm
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of these things, we could we could talk about it all night. But yeah, so hopefully I kind of answer that. Um, I apologize for not being able to give you too much, but that's all, that's all I could give you right now. Um, we can have more conversations about that. So hopefully that help you out, Nasir.
We asked the same question.
Yeah.
I know you got that a few times.
Yeah, names are important. I'm telling you, names for people, individuals, names for organizations, names for communities, and everything. Matter of fact, I recently shared on Facebook a post with all the NIMS, NYMS, and that's
Yeah.
the short form of like antonym, synonym, homonym, toponyms, pseudonyms. All of these different NIMS are naming. It's a category of what do you call it? Onomastics, which is the study of naming things and stuff like that. Um, you know, we take these things for granted. Africans, was real serious about naming things. Matter of fact, ontology itself, the categorization of existence was based on the accuracy of the name, because your name reflected the nature of something, and this goes back to character. Your character, the essence of you, the nature of you, or a thing is supposed to be reflected in the utterance of their name. And this is where the concept of, if I know your name, I have power over you, type of thing comes from. Because your name is supposed to reflect the real essence of you, or entity, or whatever the case is. So this is why businesses, even in this country, businesses are seen as legal people, persons. When you incorporate a business, it becomes a person. It could be sued. It could be whatever. It receives a social security number, but we call it an EIN number, though. So it receives a birth certificate, but we call it the articles of incorporation, or the articles of organization, if it's a LLC or whatever the case is. So these become legal fictions or legal persons, and the name is supposed to reflect, and your name is of your business supposed to reflect what you do. You're not going to open up a bakery and call it Joe's Auto Shop. You're just not going to do that. It'd be stupid. So your name is supposed to reflect what you do. So human beings, our names supposed to reflect what we do, or our goal, our life mission, and that's one of the names. So anyway, that's how things go, and like in Kemet, the name of the I'm gonna show you how practical it is, and I say this all the time about the geography, is that Kemet's geography is in reverse to what we understand today on our maps. But if we need to understand it, all we have to do is look in the language, and in the language it will tell us how the ancient Egyptians have orientated themselves, and basically it's 180 from how we orientate ourselves today on the map. Except, to understand it, instead of turning the map around 180 degrees, just leave the map as it is, or leave the cardinal points fixed where they are, and you just turn around 180 degrees. It's kind of hard to imagine, but you just turn around, like imagine this big giant map on the floor, and then you standing on it, and you're standing on the continent of Africa. The average person, like if you had this map on the floor and the room was empty, and you tell people to come into the room and just stand on the map, most of those people will stand on the map in such a way where Europe will be in front of them. Like if they stood on the continent of Africa, Europe will be in front of them, like up in front of them. That's how most people would do, because we've been subtly conditioned to do that. But in Kemet, it's the other way around. So if you came into the room, you would turn yourself the other way, and Europe will be behind you, and South Africa will be in front of you. And the reason why how we know that is because of these naming things. The West, because the West is still the West. Like I said, the cardinal points will stay fixed, but the West will be on our right hand side, and East will be on our left, as the opposite of what it is now. So the word for right hand, or right hand side of something, is the same word for West in the Egyptian language. Same thing for left. Iabit is left and Yabit is east. Amenet is right. Amenetet is western or west, the west. Um, that which is in front is Kent, that protrudes out, which is the nose of the face. It protrudes out in front of you. Kent is translated as the south, but it's in front of you. So that would be going to the south, the source of the Nile. And Mehu is the feet, and this is as if you're laying down on the map now. The Mehu is the feet or the end of something or something that which is submerged down. Um, that's behind you. That would be close to the Mediterranean. That's where the Nile ends, the ending of the Nile. So you have Tamehu. And then what's another word for south? Resi. The word Resi means head. So if you were laying on the map, your head would be down at the southern end. So the word Resi means south and it also means head. So that's how important the names are. The names reflect what it is. And a lot of sciences, especially astrophysics, they they keep names very simple. And the example I always use is a black hole. What is a black hole? A black hole is a hole that's black. I mean, it can't get any more simple than that. You know, if you ever look at astrophysics and how they name things, it's like very obvious and very, very on point. But in some other sciences, they got these tricked out names that you'll never know what it is for real and stuff like that. And I know Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he always jokes and emphasizes how astrophysicists name things compared to other fields of science, you know, and I just got a kick out of that. But it's true. They actually use, a more African approach to naming things. But anyway, we're definitely we're in the 3 hours now. So I'll end that's all I have for tonight. Anybody else have anything closing they want to say? Because, I'll just keep it going. I have a hard time ending these conversations. Nope. All right, good. See, I only allowed 3 seconds for anybody to say anything. All right, so with that, I will say, Dua, thanks for those who watch live and those who'll be watching the archive. I know there's other hangouts going on. People probably checking those out. Hopefully, people will watch this on the rebound as an archive and learn something from it. If you have any questions, come into our Facebook group, Seshu Ma'ani Medu Necher. Um, don't forget to visit the website. And I'm starting a new class of level 1, stage 1, which is beginner's introduction to Medu Neter, this coming Tuesday. Matter of fact, the sister Monica is going to be starting in that class.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. And hopefully, we need more sisters, more women. I know Tonica has been holding it down. So I know that's what, she's happy to have more sisters involved. Um,
Definitely.
yeah. Also in the chat, we have Lisa is in the chat as well. So, just need more. Um, yeah, visit the website. Class is starting Tuesday. There's still time to register to join in. And we're starting Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's 2 hours. Every session is 2 hours, once a week for 12 weeks. All right, 2 hour sessions once a week for 12 weeks, starting Tuesday. And then if you're also interested, but Tuesday is not good for you, just let me know because I'll be starting another class group. I start the class groups for particular groups, and then I can have multiple groups going on simultaneously. I have one going on Sunday right now, and then Tuesday will be a new group. All right, so and the website, matter of fact, let me just share my screen real quick, and we'll end this. Put this back up. Where is the slide? Yep, there we go. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen, and I will close it out with this. Again, Dua, thank you for tuning in, and we are the Seshu Mani Medu Neter, a beginner's introduction to Medu Neter. The book is available in softback and hardback on the website mdw-ntr.com, middlenurture.com. Flashcards is also available. That's the alphabet, what we call the alphabet, but that's the equivalent of the monoliterals or uniliterals within the Sesh Medu script. Both of those are available on the website. Also, come to the website. You'll learn about the Seshu Mani Medu why we chose the name, who we are. Matter of fact, we need to even add to that in terms of a lot of things that we focus on and kind of update that to let people know some of the projects that we have underway that we're focusing on, so people will, know what we're up to. So, all right, with that, I will say Shem Hotep, and let me exit out of here so I can exit out. All right, so I'll say Shem Hotep.